Alright, for this one you don't need a lot of supplies. I'm going to raid my floral trimmings because this is going to be small. I found this adorable little bunny sitting in a basket with some little yellow flowers that I thought was really cute. It's in the garden section at Dollar General and it was $1. And I found some carrots and cabbage in the fairy garden stuff at Dollar Tree. I'm going to be using some rainbow moss, and that's probably going to take care of my decoration. So the way that I get started with this is I mix my glue and my water. Normally I mix it about half and half. I'm going to go a little thicker on the glue because once I make this egg, I'm going to cut the front out of it. So I want it to be really, really stiff. So I'm going to mix it about 2 parts glue to 1 part water this time. And I'm going to mix up quite a bit. I'm not sure how much it will take, but I can add a little more water to it for my DIY Mod Podge. Now, I got this upholstery needle 2 or 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. I really think that I got them at Dollar Tree, but I haven't been able to find them since there, or recently. And it came on a card. There were a couple of other straight needles. I think they were actually a little bigger than this one. And then it had a curved needle on it, and they were just upholstery needles. And I really like having this. I use it quite a bit, and I've managed to hang on. This is the only one left that I can find out of that set, but I've managed to hang on to it for a good long time. The hardest part of this for me is actually threading the needle. And sometimes I have to try several times. I'm going to take my little condiment cup and I am just going to thread this through at the bottom. Just straight through. Pull my needle off and put it back in its spot on its magnet. And again, I'm putting this down at the bottom. The reason I like to thread it through is because if you don't have something like this, and you don't have to use a condiment cup, you can use, this is a baby food container, I've used these. This is a fruit cocktail container, I've used these. Pudding cups, any little plastic things like this. I don't like a lot of plastic in my house. So if I get something that's in plastic, I want to reuse it as much as I can. So I wash it when I'm finished with it, and I put it, I have a box full of crafting stash that is just stuff like this that I toss it into. So if you don't thread it through, you can put your string down into a container of glue and pull it out, but you want to kind of squeeze out. You don't want to squeeze out, but you want to pull and brush off the excess glue. Now, if you end up doing this where you're putting it down into a container and doing it from the container, I will say that you might want to cut long strips or long strings and do it that way, because it can tangle up, and it's a beast sometimes when you're trying to untangle glued thread. So, got that ready. Now I'm going to decide which one of these I'm going to use. I'm going to now, the one other thing that you're going to need is a place to put this to dry, because it needs to dry for several hours. I'm actually going to let mine dry overnight. It's late in the evening, and tomorrow when I come back, it will be dry and I'll be able to take the balloon out and start working on it. I have a clothes hanger that I'm going to clip it to and hang it up. I'm going to take my glue mixture. And now, if you're not going to be using much string, you don't have to put a ton of glue in your little cup. This is going to take a lot to cover this. So I'm going to go ahead. Normally, I put in just enough to cover my string, and that's all I put in at one time. But I'm actually going to put quite a bit in here because I know that I am going to run through a lot of glue. And this string does suck up a lot of glue. It drinks quite a bit. So, put my lid on because I have a tendency to tip this thing over. That's the bonus of using the condiment cups. Now, this is a messy project, I will tell you. This is going to get a little messy. You're going to have glue all over your hands. It's school glue, it washes off. But you do want to put a surface down that you can wash. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to completely wrap this. I want it to be pretty thoroughly wrapped, And then after it's dry, I'm going to come back and I'm going to cut an opening in it after I take the balloon out. So I'm going to get started wrapping. And once I get it wrapped, I'm going to hang it up. I'm going to let it dry overnight. And then tomorrow I'll come back and we'll finish this up. So to finish this out, I just take the end, pull it around, and I find a string that I can wrap it on and give it a couple of twists. Now this is nice and sticky, so it really shouldn't need any extra. But just to be on the safe side, I'm going to put just a tiny bit right there on the end of it and just smooth it down. Alright, and I'm going to take this and hang it up so that it can dry overnight. And tomorrow we'll come back and we will finish out our decor. Alright y'all, I'm back and my giant egg has dried. It's nice and solid. So we're going to take the balloon out of it and I'm going to cut an opening in it. Now, and I have taken just a scrap piece of foam core and I have painted it dark green. Obviously this side of it is not that great, but it's going to be down, so that won't matter. But I am not great with covering things with the reindeer moss, and I figured if I covered it green, if I painted it green, then if I missed a spot, it wouldn't show up quite as much. I have this, it's kind of a candle holder type thing. It's just a little stand that I use every once in a while, and it was kind of a green color, so I gave it a couple of coats of white paint, and I thought it would work as a stand for this. So let's get started by getting that balloon out of there, and I'm just using a weeding tool. I'm going to pull up just a little bit and pop the balloon, and I might have to reach in here and there as it deflates, and it's deflating real quickly. I wrap that top pretty tight, but I can reach in right here and grab it. I think. Nice size hole here in the bottom. I can reach in and grab it and pull it out right there. Alright, so the balloon is done, and we are left with a string egg. And it's holding its shape very nicely. It's nice and firm. And I drew out kind of an oval here where I think I want to do my cutting. Alright, I do have 2 or 3 that I'm going to dot down with glue. And then I'm just going to sit this over here and let those start to dry. They'll tack up pretty quick and we'll be able to work with this. And I'm going to spread this out just a little bit so I can kind of pick and choose where I glue and what I glue. Alright, and I'm just going to start covering this with reindeer moss. going to check and see how this looks inside. Let me hold it up so you can see. I think that's going to work nicely. Alright, so now I'm just going to start arranging a little scene on here to put in there. And I know I'm going to want the bunny. So I'm just going to play with this for a couple of minutes and see what I can figure out that I want on it or don't want on it or think I can live without. So my thought was that I would do the bunny standing by a fence and put a little wreath on the fence. So when I take my floral picks apart, I keep a few of these. They're stiff, wired, plastic coated, and I want a very small, I'm thinking about this size. Yeah, let's go with that. So I'm just going to twist this around my paint bottle here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my floral wire and I am going to start them overlapping, the end over the top, or the end over end here. And I'm just going to take my floral wire, get in between some of those leaves and get it started. And at the back, I'm just going to wrap it around and give it a twist, and I can come back and tighten it. And then I'm just going to thread this around and around and get that little floral piece, or that little piece of greenery. And I'll tuck in under the leaves here so that I'm just catching the stem. But I'm just going to work my way all the way around and get this to hold the shape of that little ring that we made. Yeah, I kind of like that. So I think I'm gonna might alternate pink and yellow. And again, I'm just gonna fish my wire through. And tuck it down into the flower so that you don't see the wire. I do have this little wood cutout that I had painted for another project, and it's tiny. And I was thinking that I might put it right in the middle. And I kind of like the way that looks. He'll be hanging on a fence. So let me set this up here and see what I think. I think I'm going to do that. So I'm just going to pull it up here, or I can take that wire. And I'm just going to run it through that ear. And then I'm going to take the wire and I'm going to wrap it around that picket of the fence. I could not find fairy lights, but I have these that are wine bottle lights. So I thought that I would put those in there. I thought they would be really cute. So I'm going to thread this up through the bottom. Sit my little reindeer moss ground in here. I want to try to get fairy lights behind it, not under it. Alright, so the fence goes furthest back. Now, I did glue an extra little block on there just so I would have a place to put some extra glue. I'm just going to put that in there and hold it for a minute. And I'm going to take the little bunny, put some glue on him, and sit him right there beside that fence. And then I'm just going to put a tiny bit of glue on these and just kind of scatter them in around him. Do I have him turned where you can see him? When I was a kid, we got these ridiculous sugar eggs. They were beautiful, but they were just a solid sugar shell that had a bunny and some eggs inside of it, candy. And we got them every year at Easter. And they always had a big bow on top of them. I like the bow. I'm just not sure that I like the bow on the egg. Oh, I think the flowers are much, much better. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put some flowers up on top. Maybe tuck in 2 or 3 pieces of greenery with it. Just put some flowers right along the edge and solid it up with some hot glue. So while this is sturdy, it is still fragile, and when I was putting my big hands in there, I managed to bump out the edge. So the way I'm going to fix that is I'm going to take some flowers. I'm going to put some glue on the flowers. And I'm going to pull them up here to the edge, and then I'm actually going to pinch the edges to pull those strings in and secure them. And again, and once everything cools down, I will come back and I will completely pull all the glue strings off before I go display him on my shelf. But let's turn the light on. Y'all, I really like the way he turned out. I really think he's cute. It's going to be great sitting on my shelf with all of my other Easter decoration. I wish I could have found the fairy lights, because then I could have put the battery pack under the little stand for him. But all in all, I really, really like the way he turned out. I hope that you enjoyed the video today. If you did, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. It really does help my channel out a lot. If you haven't subscribed yet, I hope that you will and that you'll stick around for a little while. If you hit the notification bell, YouTube will notify you when I upload a new video. Thank you so much for watching. Y'all have a great day.